Hello, everyone. It's Josh from Whiskers and Wrenches. I apologize for the radio silence. There's been a few things in the works, and I'm going to tell you guys about it right now. Firstly, I got a new job. I was working at a different job that was kind of working me to death. I was working about 55, 60 hours a week, and it was kind of killing me, honestly. I'm not going to lie. I quit that job right about in the third, it was right towards the end of filming the third episode of the $20 Kawasaki H2 rebuild series. I couldn't work it anymore, man. It was killing me. It was taking all the fun out of life. It was just every day was dragging. I came home tired. Come home, go to sleep, wake up, go to work. That was my whole life. And I was like, you know what? I don't like this. Got the new job as the RV service technician, and life has been so much better. I started not this week, but last week on Tuesday, and I have been coming home. I am still a little bit exhausted, not as bad as I was before. My brain's mostly exhausted because I'm learning a lot of new things. I have worked doing construction and vehicle maintenance, obviously, but I haven't done RV stuff, so I'm learning a lot of new things. But the radio silence is going to stop now. I do plan on doing uploads again. I have some footage of me tearing apart the motor here a little bit more in depth. A few things in the bottom end. I'm going to record a video, show you guys what I got going on in my garage. When I do show that, tell me what you guys want to see next. While I do this Kawasaki H2, it is going to slow down. We're getting to basically the end of what I can do without throwing a lot of money into it. I mean, I can start pulling apart the supercharger on it and the bottom end, and that's about it. It's maybe one or two more videos left. And then that thing's out of the frame until I start putting money into it, and those uploads are going to slow down even more. Now, I will be showing you guys around all the projects I have, since, like I said, this one is going to be slowing down with the lack of work that's left to tear it down before it gets sent off to a machine shop, before I start hunting for parts and spending a lot of money that I don't have at the moment on it to fix it back up. But I'm going to show you guys the project motorcycles I have. I'm going to show you guys the project cars that I have. I'm going to show you the beater cars I have. I do have a couple four-wheelers too. They are in a bad part of my shop right now. My dogs, I think I mentioned it in one of the Kawasaki H2 rebuild videos, but my dog decided to eat a hole in my fence and run around the neighborhood, and that wasn't a fun day. So I sectioned off my shop with some just fence I got from the hardware store, and now my dogs are chilling in there until my dad redoes the back fence. He works construction. He's like, you know what, I could give you a good deal on just redoing the whole back fence. I'm like, you know what, that'd be good so that these idiots, I don't patch this hole and they do it again, and it's just a whole ordeal. So you know what, just do that. Till then, they're in the garage, so we can't really get to the four-wheelers much, but I do have 4 of them that need fixed up. Sorry, I just got a text message. Okay, no, it's fine. I'm going to show you guys everything I got going on my motorcycles, my project cars, everything like that. All of them, apart from a couple of them are just parts bikes. I have a truck that's just a parts truck. I have a Buick that's, it's a piece of crap. You'll see. I don't really know how much time it has left on this world before it blows up, especially with the way I treat it. It's knocking horribly. It's pretty cool, but alrighty. Sorry if you guys hear the dogs in the background. I just recently got off of work like 10 minutes ago, and they want me to give them some love, and I'm not giving them attention, so they're kind of annoyed about it. But we're going to do a little walkthrough here. I'll show you guys my projects, what I got going on. Show you guys out there, too. I got that Lincoln Town car, a few other things out there. But we'll walk through, do the motorcycles first, then my cars, then I'll take you to my backyard where I got a few other crazy things stored. Alrighty, we'll get into the bikes here. This is my 03 ZZR 1200. This might be a bike you guys recognize from my Kawasaki H2 series I'm doing a rebuild on. This is the bike that actually led me to that Kawasaki H2. This is the bike that I saw the ad for, went to go pick up, and the guy was like, hey, I got a Kawasaki H2. You got want to come look at it? And then that led to, to me buying that bike. If you guys haven't watched that video, it's pretty cool. Look into it. That Kawasaki H2 series I'm doing on my channel. Pretty neat if I do say so myself. I'm a little bit of a rambler, so I apologize for that, but it's a pretty cool bike nonetheless. This bike obviously has some wreck damage. It has 29,000 miles. It's pretty beat up, but I didn't pay much for it. It didn't come with, but I bought these for pretty dirt cheap. They're rims and tailpipes from an 06 ZX14R. They're in pretty darn good shape. I like the look of them more than the stock ones that come on this bike. I am building this bike into something to replace my ZX7 over there whenever I graduate from that bike. This bike obviously needs a lot of work, so it's going to be a while. I do plan on riding my 750 a lot more, getting a lot better on the bike before I upgrade into something that's this powerful and this big and this heavy. But I plan on rebuilding this bike here on this channel. Everything I show you here, if I do anything with it, I will be videoing it and putting it on this channel. But I said I bought this bike to rebuild, fix up. It does turn over. Like I said, obviously it was in an accident there with the tore up front fairing, with the scrapes, everything like that. I put a crank breaker bar to the crank. It does turn over. The electrical system does work. The starter is junk on it, so I wasn't able to crank it over, but I was able to put a breaker bar on the crank itself underneath the clutch cover, and it did spin over pretty darn good. I was told that the guy didn't really know much about it, but obviously it was running and driving when it got into the wreck that tore it up. The frame's pretty good. The front forks aren't bent. The rear forks aren't bent. It's really just superficial damage. The frame's a little bit scratched up, as you can tell, but it's really not that bad. I can polish that out. It didn't really hurt anything go the whole way through. The clutch cover's pretty tore up, but that's not the end of the world. It's not tore up at the very bottom where it would have ran it out of oil, so that's what my main concern was, but it would have kept oil in it there just fine. And even if it does need a rebuild, I got this thing cheap enough where I don't mind doing a rebuild to it. It would be nice to build a bike just the way I want it, have it set up and everything like that, so whenever I graduate from the smaller bike, I could graduate into something that is built the way I want it. I don't have to mess with it. We'll move over here into this bike. This bike is my 1995 ZX750R, or ZX7R, I think is what they're called. I forget the exact name. I'm not a name guru or a numbers guru, especially with all these bikes I got. It's kind of hard to keep track. But this is the first bike I bought, my first street bike. I learned most of my technique on this bike. I grew up riding dirt bikes, and I did enduros and things like that. And I took my motorcycle tests on an enduro bike, and I had a little bit of fun with that. I had a little bit of fun with a buddy's bike. He rode it. He had a 450 enduro that he rode. He let me ride it sometimes. I rode on that for a while, got comfortable with it, graduated into this. Now, I bought this bike sitting in a garage. It had been there for a couple of years. The carburetors were junk on it, and it has a little bit of accident damage right here, as you can tell from the wires hanging out that I have zip tied. It didn't hurt anything really, really bad. It clipped the deer, is what I was told. Messed up the fairing, but it still does run and drive just fine. The radiator's fine, the frame's fine, everything like that. It's just superficial plastic damage, so I wasn't really that cared about it. The carburetors were junk because it was sitting for a long time when I bought it. I ripped the carburetors apart, did a home rebuild, and I got it to run. I did have to separate all the carburetors themselves, so everything was out of tune. So I brought it up to a guy to have it retuned after I did have it running. It was bogging. It wasn't running just right, but it was running. So I brought it up to a guy to have it tuned, and he did not do a good job at all. It's a long story, but basically I brought it up there with the airbox off because I was messing with it and I couldn't get it running right. So I figured I'd bring it to him. I brought it up there. He said he'd get to it on Saturday. I brought it up there Friday night. It was just clear skies and, no rain, nothing like that in the forecast for the next week or so. So I brought it up there with the airbox taken off of it. I told him the airbox took off of it. I told him the tank were off of it. It was just sitting right next to the bike. I left it in his little carport next to his house. It was out in the middle of the city or the country. It wasn't like somebody going to steal it, nothing like that. So I wasn't too worried about it. He said he'd be there on the weekend and it would work on it, get it running, and then I'd pay him. We'd all be good. Fast forward a couple days. He said, "Hey, I'm not going to get to it this week. I'd probably get to it next week or the week after." I said, "That's fine." This was a couple months ago. I said, "As long as you get it to me before snow falls and I have a little bit of time to ride it, that's all right. I just want the bike running and riding so I don't have to keep, tuning with it, messing with it. I just want to get, some hours on the bike, have some fun, get some riding experience in." Well, 3 weeks later, he never moved the bike from outside and it ran. He said, "I'm not going to get to it. You can come pick it up." I went to pick it up. It was in the same exact spot I left it with the carburetors exposed. And sure as hell, I went to start it to see if water had gone down the motor, and sure as hell, it was hydro locked, so I had to pop all the spark plugs out, blew a bunch of water out of it. I filled it full of transmission fluid, blew that out, and then I filled it full of oil to keep it from rusting. That was a whole ordeal. That guy was extremely lucky that I was in a good mood that day, because I probably would have gotten in a fight with him, because, why the hell do you leave a bike that the carburetors are off of outside in the rain? He said it wasn't his deal. I should have left it buttoned up before bringing it over to him. But I said, "Hey, you said you were only going to have it for 2 to 3 days, and there wasn't anything on the schedule, any rain, anything like that. So I figured you would have brought it into your shop. I left it right in front of your shop door. There's no way you didn't see it." But that's in the past. We're going to get it running and riding here on this channel. It does need some neglect undone. Like I said, the carburetors need probably rebuilt again because they have water in them. I'm going to put new plugs, new wires on it. Just give it a tune-up while I have everything apart. We'll move on to the next bike here. So this is a 80 or 81 Yamaha XS 1100. It came with the full fairing here. I'll show you a picture of it here, the little ad I have. The story on this bike is a guy and his buddy were drug dealers back 10, 15 years ago. Actually, probably longer than that, actually. It was 35 years ago, I think. Yeah, because this thing last ran in 86 is the last inspection tag on it. Him and his buddy were drug dealers. He went to jail and he got out of jail, and his buddy was going to go to jail, and his buddy said, "Hey, would you mind if I left my motorcycle here with you? I don't want it to get stolen or anything like that." So he said, "Sure, why not?" Threw it in his garage, and he went to jail. His buddy went to jail, and then he went to jail a little bit later, and when he got out, he learned that his buddy had died from a heart attack trying to run from the cops. So now he was left with this bike. It sat in the back of his shop. He doesn't ride. It just sat there. He didn't know what to do with it. He was waiting for the family to come pick it up, but they never did. So it let it sit there, and then about 7-8 months ago, I picked it up. He said, "Hey, I'm cleaning shop. I'm redoing my garage. Give your offers for it. Highest offer wins." I said, "I'll give you $100 for it." I was winning it. Another guy said he'd give 125, so I said I'll give 150. That's my final offer. I don't want to go any higher than that. I don't know anything about this bike. It doesn't have a title. I did have the sheriff come out with me when I picked it up and verified the VIN was clean. It's not reported as stolen. It was last registered in 1986, so I'm sure it would have been reported by now if it was stolen. So I'm starting the title process with this one, but it wasn't stolen. I won the bid for $150. I took the front fairing off it because I think it was ugly. I'm going to do a midnight special clone on this bike. I'll put up a picture here of what those bikes look like. I think they're pretty neat. This one does need a little bit of work. I mean, obviously, it's been sitting somewhere for a long, long time. It's not in too bad a shape. The motor does spin over. I haven't got the keys to it, so I bypassed it and just hooked up the booster pack straight to the starter, and it spun over like that. It sounded like it had good compression. So this one isn't seized up. We'll do a rebuild series at some point on the channel on this one. Over here is another Yamaha. I don't even know what year this thing is. I think it's a 78. I bought this thing a long, long time ago, probably a year and a half ago. It came with another bike. Just the guy said, "Hey, I've got this. Do you want it?" And I said, "Sure, why not? I'll throw it, in my pile. And I'm sure I can use, parts off it for something." And sure as hell, I got this bike, and some of the parts are interchangeable, so it'll help this bike be better. But as you can tell, there's not much left of this bike. From what I see, it was left in a river or something because the tailpipes are full of clay, and I popped off that side cover there. Popped off that side cover, and it was full of clay too.
For free? Yummers.
So I hosed it all out. The motor doesn't spin over. The spark plugs are full of rust. It's probably just a boat anchor, but I figured I'll do something with it. I might turn the motor, just put it on a table, hang it up somewhere. I don't know. I'll do something with it. I figured for free. I mean, it's throwing in with another bike. I can throw it in the scrap pile if all else fails. I got this one with a 72 or 73 Yamaha XS 650. I sold that bike, made some good money on it, kept this one around. I tried to put it up on Facebook Marketplace, see if anybody needed parts like the forks for it or the wheels or anything like that. Nobody wanted any of it, so I just kind of sitting here. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'll do something with it eventually. We'll move on to the Hondas now. Sorry if I'm you see me going up there and it cuts a little bit. I've done a couple takes here, and I'm trying to do each bike individually because I just kind of puke out information, especially with all the bikes I've got. It's kind of hard to keep everything up here, and I keep getting things wrong. So I've got a bunch of different takes to make this work. But these two bikes are Honda CX500s. The one without a headlight came with that other blue Suzuki over there. We'll get into that guy in a second. But I paid $100 for that bike. This one was free. That one was $100. I paid $800 or $850 for that bike. That one does have a clean title, and I did hear it run when I bought it, but it was pissing gas everywhere because the carbs needed cleaned. But I paid $100 for that bike, $100 for that Suzuki. It was $200 for both of them together. This is a 81, an 80 or an 81. That's a 79 or 80. I can't remember. They have a little bit differences here and there, like the seat size and the tank size, but other than that, they're pretty darn similar. Same frames, everything like that. I'm going to use the parts off the one without the headlight to fix the one with the headlight. The one with the headlight I bought from my coworker. He doesn't really know the story on it. A guy sold it to him. It was a buddy of his who owed him $100, and he kind of knew he was going to flake out on him, and his buddy offered him the bike. He said, "Hey, I owe you $100 for something. I can give you this bike I got, or I can hit you up later and get you the $100." And he kind of knew he'd flake out, so he just took the bike. I gave him this $100 back for it. It does spin over. No title. Most of these bikes don't have titles. Is why I get them so cheap. But every single time I get a bike without a title, I have the sheriff's office go out there with me and verify it's not stolen, verify it's not hot. Because I have got titles for bikes before. It's not the end of the world. I will show you guys that on this channel as we rebuild all these bikes. I do plan for most of these bikes to do a rebuild series on. This piece of crap, probably not. But those Hondas, I got some footage on them, ripping a few parts off this one to make that one better. But I plan on making one good running bike out of both of them. Just a little, daily. It's good on gas. It's easy, reliable, cheap parts, everything like that. That's kind of it. They both spin over. They both have tires that roll. I mean, I don't really know what to say about them. That one's missing a head gasket cover. This one's got it. This one's missing carburetors. That one's got it. So I think, with two crappy bikes, I can make one that's, worth a damn. I don't know if I said I kind of want to make just a daily driver one, but I've seen a couple guys that have done enduro builds, like this one right here, like an adventure bike. and that guy actually lives really close to me, about a couple hours away. And those things look sick. I might do something like that in the future. We'll see. We'll move on next to the other Honda here, and then we'll move on to the Suzuki's we got. This Honda, it's a funny story on this bike. It's a really long story. Basically, I bought it from a guy who, it was his son's bike. He drove it up from where he lived about 5-6 hours away. It was having carburetor issues. He just had a buddy drive him back. That was about 3-4 years ago, and it's sat ever since. He told me that his son told him to just sell it and find somebody. He's not going to get around to it, so sell it, and his son would mail me the title. Well, guess what? He never did. I got in contact with him. He said, "What the hell are you talking about? I never said that. I like that bike. That was actually my first bike. I don't want to sell it." So we figured out that the dad stole it out from under him, sold it to me for $100. The son was super, super chill about it. He's like, "You know what? I'll give you your money back." So now the plan is he's giving me money to put into this bike, get it running and driving, and then I'm going to daily it for a little bit, make sure it's good, daily it for a week or two, maybe taking on a couple hour drives up to a city and back just to make sure it's good. And then he will come by, pick it up, and drive it back home and have his bike running and driving again. Past this bike is a Suzuki. That's a 352-stroke twin street bike of some kind. I think it's a DT 350, I think is the proper term for it. I don't really know. I'm not a big Suzuki guy, but the motor was in boxes. I put it back on the frame. The story on that bike is that bike and this little Honda right here without the light on it. A guy was clearing out a shop. He said it was his grandpa's. His grandpa's passed away, and this is just some of the bikes they had laying around. Paid $100 for both of them, or for two of them, so it was $100 a pop. That one has all the parts for it. Apparently what had happened was a guy and his son rebuilt it, and they dropped a bolt or something down one of the cylinders, tried to start it, and it messed up, scoured the cylinders really bad, and that is true. The inside of that motor looks great. One of the cylinders and the jugs are scoured really bad, so now I'm trying to find a replacement for it. I don't have the title for it, but I do have the keys for it, which is pretty neat. The motor does spin over. I do plan on doing a full rebuild series on that. I love small displacement two-strokes. They're kind of cool. Like I said, I'm a dirt bike guy, so things like that have a special place in my heart. This frame that's on the ground here came with that ZZR we looked at first. I picked up that Kawasaki H2, this, and that ZZR at once. I paid $300 for the ZZR in this bike, and then I paid $20 for that Kawasaki H2. This is a 2002, same year I was born, ZR 1200. It's the Kawasaki street bike. They're more like kind of Ninja. I don't know if it was a Ninja yet. I'm not extremely well versed in when a Ninja became a Ninja and when they weren't Ninjas and all that stuff. But it's a 1200cc. It's basically just a motor, some exhaust, and then a wiring harness for it. It has the radiator, it has the carburetors, everything on it. So I'm probably going to turn it into a go-kart or something. Again, no title, but it came with the bill of sale, came with some auction paperwork, so I can get a title to it if I really need to. Again, I'm probably not, because I'm probably going to turn it into a go-kart or something. Over next, that thing is an abomination. It is an absolute abomination. I'm going to get a little bit closer because you need to see it to believe it. It is a extremely weird bike. 99 or 2000, I forget the exact year. Suzuki 750 or 600, I forget the exact model. I think it was, okay, it's a 750. It's a Suzuki Katana that somebody has put the front end and rear swing arm of a three-wheeler on. Now, this is exactly what it looks like. It's a redneck hack job, but it's actually pretty cool. It's not tore up. The motor does spin over. It's not getting sparked. The carburetors are pretty well seized, but it's only got, I think, 11,000 miles on it. Yep, 11,976 miles on it. This bike wasn't even really broken in when it got tore apart. The story I got was the guy bought auction bikes. This was a police impound. You know how people do street takeovers or riding dirt bikes and stuff like that on the street? You see groups of like hundreds of them riding around in New York City, stuff like that. They were doing that with this, and the chain came off of it, and they caught the guy, put him in jail. This went up for sale. The guy bought it for dirt cheap, used it as a little bit of a lot toy, and then I bought it for, I think I paid $150 for this one. I can't remember. I've got so many bikes in here that I just keep picking up for dirt cheap. It came with that one back there, which is a 2000 or 99 as well. I know one of them's a 2000, one of them's a 99. It's another Suzuki Katana. It's just basically a frame, a front end, and a motor and wiring. My plan is to put the front end, the front forks and everything of that bike back onto this bike, the swing arm as well, and put off-road tires on it, and then cage it up and make like an off-road dirt bike out of a street bike. I always think those things look cool. I'll put a couple pictures up here of a couple of people that have done it. I think they look absolutely sick, and having like a off-road motorcycle that the speedometer goes up to 160 on is always a little bit of a death wish, and I love death wishes and things like that, so that always catches my eye. That's all I've got for motorcycle-wise in the shop. I've got my Crown Vic under this tarp here. I do have a couple videos that I recorded. I haven't edited them yet, but this is a 1999 Crown Victoria. It's actually my first car that I've ever put in my name. I bought this car when I was 18, moved to Iowa with it from Washington State. It is a retired City of Post Falls patrol car. It was a black and white patrol car that somebody painted all black after it came out of the force. It was an all right paint job. It wasn't amazing. I've got it covered up right now. I'm doing a lot to it. I'm making it a little bit more cozy on the inside. This is getting those door cards, the wood trim are getting put into it. I've got, at least for the rear, I'm doing a little bit of custom because I'm putting heated rear seats in it, so I have to cut up those door cards a little bit. I also have to re-dye them to black because I am doing a black and wood grain interior on this thing and not tan. As you can see over here, let me move over a little bit. I've got a dash pad from a Lincoln Town Car that I'm putting into it. These will bolt up. You have to do some custom work, but they will bolt up to a Crown Vic. They look a little bit better. I'll show a picture of what the Crown Vic looked like on the inside here. No wood trim. Everything's just kind of basic. It just feels like plasticky patrol car. And then this is what a similar generation of Town Car that I ripped the dash out of looks on the inside. For me, it's a lot better. I believe that looks a lot classier. It's just going to cruise a lot better with what I do with the Crown Vic, which is drive it to like race courses, drag strips, car shows, things like that. Have a little bit of fun. I'm not doing anything super serious in it, but I'm just out there to have fun and drive it back. It's going to be super comfortable for long distance cruising. I've also got I don't know if you guys can see it, but there is a TR3650 5-speed from an 03 Mach 1 that's on that back shelf that will be going into the Crown Vic. The automatic's getting ripped out. That 5-speed's getting put into it. I've got a limited slip diff that I'm putting into the back of this thing, a hydraulic e-brake. Again, a little bit stiffer sway bars. It's not going too crazy, but I want a cool, like, muscly, like, old school 70s muscly vibe going with it. With the wood grain interior, I'm going to put, like, a pistol grip shifter on it, with the wood grain, like this one up on the screen here. Just, something, like, old school muscly-ish, but not going over the top. I've got a bunch of parts here. I'm putting the automatic climate controls from that Lincoln Town Car in there when mine had vacuum-operated manual controls because it was an old cop car. It didn't have, any of the cool options, didn't have leather, didn't have heated seats, nothing like that. So I'd have to wire all that stuff in. You can see on the interior here, I don't know how much you can see. Whoop, I stepped on something, but there are black leather seats that I've got from a Town Car in there. There's a heated electric, all that stuff. I have to wire that in. This thing's just kind of in wiring jail right now with how much I'm doing to it. The rear seats I pulled out of a 2011 Lincoln Town Car that was a taxi, so they have like the radio and the climate controls on the back seats, so I'm wiring that in just to make it work, even though I pretty much never envisioned to have people in the back for that long. I just kind of want it back there just to be cool and unique. Not a lot of people do that to these Crown Vics. The seats will bolt right in. They bolt right up, but the wiring and everything like that, they're not wired for it, so I do plan on doing that just to be kind of different. I've got the little back lighted pouch for the trunk compartment. I've got the trunk compartment carpet there that my car didn't come with. It was all stripped out. Like I said, it was an old cop car. So these things didn't get many options. They're very, very basic. They really got performance options, suspension options. That's it. They had cloth manual seats in 90% of the years. This one had just that. It had manual climate controls. It had no cruise control. It had cloth seats in it, no electric adjustment. The only thing that connected to the seats was an airbag sensor. That was it. So I have a lot of wiring I'm doing on this car to make that work. Now we're going to move to what I got out here, this Lincoln Town Car that I got for parts. This is a 99 Lincoln Town Car I bought for wiring, for the door cards, all that fun stuff. This thing's got 310,000 miles on it. It does run and drive, but the transmission's acting wonky. I got it for a pretty good deal. The frame's pretty clean on it. What I plan to do, it is up on blocks right now because the airbags are blown out. I said it's kind of, had an Amish going by, but it's kind of just an old car that was really pretty well taken care of, especially, the year and the mileage. It looks really darn good. It looks like it was in a garage because the paint's in really good shape, but it's just nearing the end of its life. Like I said, the transmission's starting to act weird. The airbags are blown out on it. It just needs a lot of work, and for a car with that many miles, I know they can run and drive for a really, really long time, but anything past like 250,000 miles, I really don't want to put a lot of work into because Like I could rebuild that transmission, put a brand new one in it, and the motor could blow, or the rear end could blow, or the front end could give out from it from how many miles, and I just keep pouring money into it, and it's kind of a recurring money pit. At some point, it will be a reliable car again, but I mean, there's always a point where, you know, it's too many miles to really be like a dead-on reliable car still. What I plan to do is I do plan on keeping this one. These cars are full frame cars. So what I plan on doing is cutting it right at the where the window or the front window is at, right about there. Same thing with the floor, and making a dune buggy out of it. My neighbor's got one similar over there that he wants the front end parts off of because his are dinged up. That's his grandpa's old car. It's in pretty good shape. He's going to take the front end off of it. And then I'm going to have a little bit of a fun car here. I'll show some videos up on screen here. Me and my partner went out when we first got it and just had some fun down dirt roads, swinging it around corners. Cut the exhaust off of it. We just had some fun with it. Alrighty, over here is my 2003 F-150. As you can tell, I live in the Salt Belt. It's extremely rusty. I'm putting a new bed on it. It's fun with it. I have a parts truck over there. I'm ripping apart. This thing used to be a city truck, so it had, you know, just a bench seat in it, no carpet, no air conditioning, nothing like that. That's what that one's giving all of its junk to. For this one, this is the truck that I go pick everything up with, all my motorcycles, all my work things. It's a good old truck. It's only got like 119,000 miles on it. It's a 5-speed V6, 2-wheel drive. Ripping the bed off that one, sandblasting the frame, doing an undercoating video. You guys will see that. I will do a tutorial on how to do that. Like I said, this is the parts truck that I bought for dirt cheap to rip like the seats and everything out of. I do plan on ripping the doors off of it too, because it has electric windows and electric mirrors and electric locks. Mine doesn't have that. This was a running and driving truck, but the transmission, it's a stick shift as well. The stick shift, I took it off. I used it in a different car. The stick shift lever at least, but third gear is out of it and fourth gear grind. Put it into third. My foot is not on the clutch, just on the brake. Yeah, there's no third. You just it's up. Is it up there somewhere? Am I gonna find it? And it is a Trident motor that blew 3 spark plugs out the head. They helicoiled it and 2 more blew right back out. So that I didn't want to mess with it. I bought this whole thing for $300. Does have a title. It did run and drive. I drove it here to my house. It has decent tires on the front. They're not horrible, not bad, but the back ones are like brand new, and that was like the main thing I bought it for. Was the front tires in my truck are pretty well worn out. These are legitimately like brand new. So I got my money's worth just in tires, and I was able to put the seats and everything in that truck. Now back over here are a couple cool cars. This one technically isn't mine, but it's a buddy of mine. He leaves it at my place. He's up at a family / business trip for about a year and a half. It is a 1986 Utah Highway High-Speed Pursuit SSP Mustang. It is actually genuinely an old cop car. I'll show you guys here. You can see right here the drill out for the spotlights and everything. It's got the notch back. It's got the hole in the trunk for the antenna. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it is a high output 5.0 with a 5-speed in it. It was a Utah Highway High-Speed Pursuit vehicle, as I said earlier. It hasn't been reliably on the road since '96 when it was parked in a garage. We ripped it back out of there in about 2021 or 2022, somewhere along in there. His dad bought it straight out of the force. Whenever his dad had the kids, it got parked in the garage. They got a family car, and it just kind of got forgotten about. We ripped it out and got it running. It runs on 7.5 cylinders. The tires are from 1996 on it. It needed a little bit of work. We did get it running and driving with a starter solenoid, a fuel pump, new oil, and a little bit of a tune-up in it. It still does need, I think a rat got to one of the injectors, or it's just gummed up, because like I said, it runs on 7.5 cylinders. But it does sound pretty darn good. It's a cool car. We're going to fix that thing up over the next little bit. Over here is my convertible Buick that I made into a convertible myself. I bought this from a coworker for scrap value. It's knocking like a they were going to... I think that's a knock. I'm going to scrap it, and I said, you know what, I'll buy it, have some fun with it before it goes off to the scrap yard. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It has been 50,000 miles without an oil change on this car, so it's kind of on borrowed time. I did change the oil when I bought it, but it only got louder when it was knocking. I put some really thick race oil in there to try to prevent that. but it only got louder. This was a normal car when I bought it. It had a roof, had doors. I cut it off just to have fun. I beat the ever-living crap out of it, as you can tell. Whenever it blows up, it's going up to the scrapyard, but this is just kind of the beater I have fun with every now and then. I'll record a little outro here. Like I said, just tell me what you guys think. I do apologize for the radio silence. My brain has just been kind of fried with everything I'm learning at that new job. It was kind of taking a little bit to decompress from that old job. I just kind of mellowed out for a little bit, really kind of put the YouTube thing on the back burner. But now I'm getting back into a rhythm. I've got my second week almost done now with my work. I'm getting into a flow now. I'm kind of coming home not fully, worn out every single day. I'm not coming home, wanting to just immediately go to sleep or take a shower, eat, and do nothing. I've kind of got a little brain power left, so I can start getting back into the YouTube videos. So tell me what you guys want to see. Do you guys want me to fix up that ZZR first? Do you guys want me to make one good bike out of those two Hondas? Do you guys want me to spray paint something stupid on that Buick? Like I said, do you guys want me to show you how to do sandblasting on that truck? Do you guys want me to, I don't know, whatever you guys want to do, put it in the comments what you guys want to see next, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. You guys are awesome.